today for language arts, we are going to need our book, Investigating the Past, again today. So if you don't have it now, go ahead and pause the video and go find this book. We're going to be looking at pages 6 and 7 and reading this diary about the Oregon Trail. Again, please go get your reading book, Investigating the Past, and open to pages 6 and 7 so that we can look at it together. Okay, today we're going to be reading a diary. A diary is an example of a primary source. That means that it is a source from history written by a person who was living at the time. Diaries are written by people, which means that even though they are historical documents, they are written by a human being who has certain biases and beliefs and experienced the event from their own perspective. When we were still in school, we were learning about how characters experience events from different perspectives. For example, we read a story about Cinderella's stepmother, and when Cinderella's stepmother wrote the story, she complained that Cinderella was super annoying. But when we read Cinderella's version of the story, we learn that Cinderella was really poorly treated. So those are two different perspectives about the same story. The diary can be the same way. So even though this is a historical document and is considered a primary source, we have to always remember that it is only told from one perspective. A diary is written by a person and tells about what's happening in their life. Today we're going to be practicing looking for main events within the diary so we can see what happened to the person who wrote this diary, whose name is Edith. We're going to read part of the Oregon Trail diary together, and then as we read, we're going to pause and we're going to write down important things that happen in the notes section. When we get to paragraph 4, you're going to do that on your own. Okay, let's get started. First, we're going to listen to the text as we read along.
Read 1. Remember to annotate as you read. The Oregon Trail. May 17th, 1849. Dear Diary, we've been on the Oregon Trail for 2 weeks. I'm exhausted. Papa and I walk while Mama and the baby ride. Papa says it's because our weight would be too much for the mules. Yours truly, Edith. June 29, 1849. Dear Diary, rain, rain, and more rain. Now the trail is more like soup. Today our wagon got stuck in the mud. As a result, a wheel broke. It was another setback. Yours truly, Edith. July 14th, 1849. Dear Diary, sunrise brought a magnificent sight. A herd of buffalo grazing on the plain. Our provisions have been getting low, so we stopped at an Indian village. We traded some iron pans for other supplies. Yours truly, Edith. August 1st, 1849. Dear Diary, we have arrived at Soda Springs. The water has bubbles in it like soda water. We are going to stay here for an extra day because we need the rest. We can bathe in the hot springs, and Mama says the water is great for making bread. Yours truly, Edith.
So as we read through the first time, we read all of the diary entries. Now we're going to focus on just looking at one diary entry and reading it carefully. May 17th, 1849. Dear Diary, we have been on the Oregon Trail for 2 weeks. I'm exhausted. Papa and I walk while Mama and the baby ride. Papa says it's because our weight would be too much for the mules. Yours truly, Edith. So as we read this next time, we need to take notes on the important events that are happening in the story. So we're going to look at first finding those important events and underlining them. So get your pencil ready so you can underline the same things that I underline. So I'm going to use my underline tool and let's go ahead and read. So first, when I look at this, I see some important information like how long they've been on the trail. So I'm going to underline the words 2 weeks. That's when. I also see where they are. So I'm going to underline these words, Oregon Trail. I also see that Edith is our main person who's on the Oregon Trail. So I'm going to underline her name. And it says here, Papa and I walk while Mama and the baby ride. So I want to underline this part, walk. Next, I want to use my notes section to go ahead and write down a note of the important event that happened in this section of the text. I'm going to type, but you're going to write down what you read. So now that we've underlined, we can go ahead and make a note of what happened in this section of the text. So I'm going to start by saying who, and our who is Edith, because she's our main person. Edith, and then we have her family too. And they're traveling on the Oregon Trail, but we also talked about how that she's had to walk a lot. So I'm going to write walking on the capital for Oregon for 2 weeks. So this is the important information that we learned from the text. And I guess I need to make my font a little bit smaller. So let me make this box a little bigger. So you're going to first go ahead and write down what happened first. And what we should do also when we're writing these notes down is we should label it with the number of the paragraph that we're talking about. So I'm going to write a little number 1 right up above it. And I don't need the box to be so big, so I'm going to make it smaller.
Read.
So I've got my first note written down for paragraph 1. Next, we're going to reread paragraph 2 and underline the text to show what important thing happened in paragraph 2. So I'm going to start by getting my paper ready, and I'm going to write a number 2. So I'm ready to write those notes down, and then I'm going to go ahead and underline what important things I learned from paragraph 2. So using our underlining tool for online, and then you'll just use a pencil, I'm going to first reread the text, and I'm going to find out what happened. So June 29th, 1849, Dear Diary, rain, rain, and more rain. Now the trail is more like soup. Today our wagon got stuck in the mud. As a result, the wheel broke. It was another setback. Yours truly, Edith. So a lot of things are happening in this section of the text. First of all, it's raining. So I'm going to underline that it rained. And we're going to write that it rained a lot. Then I see that the trail is like soup. And in the next part, she says, the wagon got stuck in the mud and the wheel broke. So those are all the important details from this section. And then I'm going to use my writing tool to write down what happened. So taking our underlined information, go over here to our annotation section, and we're going to write down a note of what important thing happened. So first, it rained a lot, and the trail got muddy. The wagon wheel broke and they got stuck. Now that I've written down my note, I'll give you some time to copy it down. Oops, here we go. So I'm going to scroll up so you can see number 1 and 2. I'll go ahead and pause the video here, take some time, and write those notes down. If you haven't finished, pause the video and finish your work before we continue. Write down your notes for section 1 and 2. If you haven't, pause the video again and rewind for a couple seconds so you can finish copying them down. Now we're going to look at paragraph 3 together. This will be the last paragraph that we do together. Paragraph 4 you're going to do on your own. July 14th, 1849. Dear Diary, sunrise brought a magnificent sight, a herd of buffalo grazing on the plain. Our provisions have been getting low, so we stopped at an Indian village. We traded some iron pans for other supplies. Yours truly, Edith. So in this text, which was written long ago, they use some words that I'm a little concerned about. One, they use the word Indian village. Well, the Oregon Trail didn't happen in the country of India. So actually, the appropriate word would be native village. So I'm actually going to circle that word because this is a historical word and we don't use that word anymore. So I'm going to draw a little line through it and I'm going to change it to the correct word, which is native village, just because this is not the right word for today's language. So another word I see in the text that might be confusing is the word provisions. So I'm actually going to try to circle that word, provisions, and I'm trying to figure out what does this word provisions mean. I don't understand this word, so I have to circle it because I don't know exactly what it means. So let's read the text again and see if we can figure out what do they mean by the word provisions. So, sunrise brought a magnificent sight, a herd of buffalo grazing on the plain. Our provisions have been getting low, so we stopped at a native village. We traded some iron pans for other supplies. Okay, now that I've read the text again, I can figure out that the word provisions means the same thing as supplies because they traded something else for some supplies. So provisions and supplies must mean the same thing. That could also be called provisions. So now that we've figured out some of our unknown words, let's go back to the text and find the information that we need to underline. So we're looking again for the most important details in the text to underline. And the most important things that I see happening, or the most exciting things, is that she got to see a herd of buffalo. So I'm going to underline that she saw a herd of buffalo. And also, I'm going to underline this other important thing where they stopped because their supplies were getting low. So I'm going to underline getting low, that they traded, and they got new supplies. So those are important things that we need to remember when we are writing our details down. Now that we've underlined our important details and we've identified our unknown words, we're going to use our notes section to write what happened in this part of the text. So Edith got to see buffaloes. That's pretty exciting. And they stopped to get new supplies. They stopped for more supplies. On a long trip, you have to stop to get things like gas and new snacks. Well, they stopped to get food and other things that they needed to continue. Take some time and finish writing these notes down. Next, you're going to look at section 4 on your own, and you're going to write down your own notes about section 4. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video right now so you can finish writing down notes for section 3. We have 2 details that we found in section 3 that were important. And for section 4, I'd like you to also find 2 important details about what happened on August 1st, 1849. If you haven't finished, pause the video and finish your work before we continue. Okay, now that you've finished writing your notes for section 3, go ahead and read section 4 again and write your own notes by yourself. If you want me to check your work, take a picture and send it to me in my email. After you're finished, that's the end of our lesson, and have a great day.